Greetings, this is Pastor Mark. I recently appeared on the atheist podcast show, The Right to Reason, with Robert Stanley. We had a rather fun and engaging conversation on some rather serious topics. What you're about to hear is just a clip from that conversation. Hope you enjoy.
Welcome to the Right to Reason podcast. I am your host, Robert Stanley. We are talking to Pastor Mark about the problem of evil.
But if we are talking about the Christian God, about the biblical God, we're talking about the biblical worldview. And so, you could just say, no, that's all hooey, so just throw it all out. Well, okay, great. But we're talking within the context of God being real and he created. If that's not the context we're talking in, then we're not even talking about God or the problem of evil or any of that.
Okay. Well, I see your point. I thought you were saying, well, come on, let's take a step out of the supernatural or the spiritual or what have you and look at just reality. You can see it, see this explained just in your everyday life and your life experience. But if you're saying we're still in that vein, but...
Right. If we're addressing the problem of evil as evil and suffering is a problem for God, well, then
okay,
we're going to have to address that in the context of God being the creator.
What if he's bad? Just hypothetically, as a thought experiment, if you were like writing a script for a movie, it wouldn't be hard to characterize God as evil, would it?
Yeah, I think it'd be
like a demiurge or something, you know?
I guess if you want to, twist things and write that story, you could, twist anything into making something bad.
Right. So if I started with that premise, if I said that was foundational to my understanding of Scripture and also foundational to my interpretation of reality itself, like you'd said before, that same knock on wood is on the same level, if not under, I think you might have said, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm putting words in your mouth, under your foundational faith, and part of that being the nature of God, then if I came at all of it that way as God is evil, I could then show, since God is evil, this happens. Since God is evil, that happens. And I could even use the same analogy you just did about nerve endings and sunsets on the beach, where I could say, just look at all of how horrible this is. That's where hurricanes come from, and your body was designed for pain. You might get pleasure from it sometimes, but this demiurge God actually created it for evil. You see how, like, if I were to come at it with that level of what I referred to as intellectual dishonesty before, we could just break it down to say, if I came at it with just that sense of bias, I could explain anything in the same way you could write a script where God's evil, right?
Well, you could spin that tale if you wanted to, but the notion of God being evil is incoherent.
How so?
Because as the sovereign creator, which is kind of wrapped up in, what God is, right? He creates the world, which would include what is moral. And so God is the source or the standard, of morality. And so saying God is evil is like saying the Constitution is illegal. It's like say you're in Bell County. Say they pass a law that says, police don't need a warrant to search your house. And you go, well, the Constitution says they do. And they go, no, that's illegal. We said so. Well, that's not how it works. The Constitution is the basis for what determines what's illegal. It itself cannot be illegal. And likewise, God is the source, the standard of what is good. And so he himself cannot be evil.